here we
Right,
are.
so yeah, there's no viewers waiting. So plus, it's
Mm.
a weird time as well. We don't normally do it at this time. We normally do it earlier in the day.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. But anyway,
So you were doing this time just because of
because
Atlas,
I
and
had
then yeah.
no, I had a work thing.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah, I
right.
had to work, so I kind of rearranged with Atlas to do it at this time, and then all of a sudden, but
Mm.
I'll talk about that in the intro anyway. So,
Sure, sure, sure.
all right, okay. So whenever you're ready,
I am ready when you are.
all right. Welcome everybody to Too Legit to Crit, a tabletop role-playing podcast made for people who engage and collaborate at the table, and also made for people who understand fucking time zones.
Oh, believe me, I've lived in multiple places around the world and always and trying to calculate the time differences back to where family and friends are. It's always a nightmare.
Yeah, well, as you can all see, I'm not joined by Atlas this evening, and I will go into why. But stepping up is very, very short notice, may I add. Is Mistress Winter, and this is actually not the first time that Winter has stepped up at short notice to help us. The Daggerheart game.
I've jumped in once or
Yeah,
twice.
yeah,
Not with this one. I'm excited to have
yeah.
my premiere on this show.
Oh, it's great to have you here. It's absolutely fantastic. But you helped us out. It was Daggerheart where something
Yes,
happened. It's
yes,
like, oh shit, I need someone to GM something, and you went, here we go.
yeah.
And
Uh,
when Mistress Winter offers to GM, you say yes.
oh, that's very sweet. And totally spikes my imposter syndrome. But you know, I
It
won't
shouldn't do
stop you.
because you no, yeah, ignore that imposter syndrome. The fact that I am voluntarily playing Pathfinder just because you're running it.
That I know, and I've offered you so many outs. I'm like, we can play something else if you want. If you don't like Pathfinder Second Edition, we can play something else. But you're like, nope, that's what you want to play. That's
No,
I'm like,
that's it.
okay.
You want to run a game? I'm there. I don't give a shit. You can run snakes and ladders, and I'll be there.
Aw,
Nah,
yeah.
100%. You are phenomenal GM, and I'm actually, as much as I'm kind of moving or wanting to move away from the actual play thing, I'm kind of a bit gutted that Parasand isn't being recorded because we are
Uh,
having such a fucking good time.
oh, it is so fantastic. Our other two players, Misfit and Chris, uh, are just delights with their characters, and the three of you just cause trouble, and it is fantastic. Uh,
I
like torturing old men. Uh, granted, he deserved it, but
and to be that's it's my own personal fantasy, so
oh, that well, I'm not going to king shame. So
no, I mean if I get any older, it'll just be self mutilation at this point.
oh, oh no, that's we don't like that. We like your pretty face.
I wouldn't say pretty, I'd say standard. But going back to Parasand, you because
Yes.
this isn't Galarian, and for me, it's always been Pathfinder, Galarian, Galarian, Pathfinder. So if it's amazing and it's really refreshing to be able to be in a setting which I don't know because I know Galarian.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I do too. Now, I will give the writers at Paizo credit. Galarian is a very vibrant and very diverse world. You've got all of these different nations that have almost their own theme to them,
Mm,
which I will admit I took a little bit of inspiration from, uh, but uh, there were aspects that I didn't like.
yeah.
One that humans were very prominent,
Hmm.
and that's been my issue with a lot of fantasy worlds. Is that humans seem to take the front stage, and I find humans very boring. Uh, this is often an escapist fantasy. I want to play as something else.
Yeah.
So um, in Parasond, I I made humans a minority and one of the more uncommon races versus the healthy mix of all the others. And I'll roll that back, not races, ancestries.
Mm.
Uh, that's one of the inspirations. But I'll tell you though that the seed inspiration for Parasond was actually came from my wife.
Okay.
So um, when we had first moved in together and we were going to bed and we would read in bed, and at the time I was reading the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher,
Yeah.
and I'd come across these very funny passages that I'd have to read out loud to her because I wanted to share in that joke. Um, but then there was this scene in one of the books where you have this council of wizards and they come from all over the globe. So they all have their different accents in my head. And I was like, oh, imagine trying to be the audiobook reader trying to do all of these different accents. Uh, and so I did try, and I'm not great at all of them. In fact, there's quite a few that I need a lot of help with, like German, French. Uh, I definitely couldn't do uh, an African
Mm.
accent. Um, so, but I started reading it to her, and I started reading. We got really into the whole series. One of the villains of the yeah I put villains in quotes. One of the villains in antagonists, I'll say,
Mm.
in the Dresden Files is Mab, the queen of ice and darkness, the fairy queen of ice and darkness.
Mm.
And uh around her and her kind of vibe is darkness and cold and death and all of that kind of vibe. So one day, my wife says, I would like to a see ice and snow, like winter, be seen as something life giving,
Yeah.
because the the winter means family and coming together and warmth and stuff like that, uh, with all the snow and the cold and the ice outside. Uh, and I was thinking about it. I was like, well, I'm going to create a world that has a nation, or a region that is permanently snow and ice and cold, but it actually flourishes with flora and fauna of
Mm.
its own, and has a healthy um, economy. There's villages and towns in a city, uh, and it's full of life rather than death
Yeah.
or darkness. And that Parasol kind of grew out of what I called the snowfields.
Mm.
So the snowfields started, and then everything else branched out from that.
I mean, I think it's absolutely fantastic, and the way that when we started talking about playing the game, we kind of went back and forth, and a lot of what we discussed then kind of created something, kind of created a new city. Like my character is from a city which, as far as I'm aware, you created specifically because I want her to be a city here, and you went, okay, here it is. And just not only that, but it's also the turnaround with which you did it. It was like a day or 2 days or something like that, where I went, okay, here's the idea for my character. And in a very short span of time, you went, "Here's what I'm thinking," and fantastic, absolutely wonderful work.
Yeah, not only the city, but the avatar.
Mm,
So, just for audience sake, Parasan doesn't have gods per se. They're called avatars. Whole long story. But your character is a monk uh, that specializes in the bow. So we've got some Zen archery kind of
mm,
stuff going on. But uh, there was a tie in to this uh, avatar that's
mm,
very Kali inspired, multi armed, wielding several weapons, that kind of thing.
mm.
But yeah, so when I world build, um, I I admit that I have trouble uh, with self genesis of ideas, just coming up with ideas to put down on paper.
Mm,
That so it really helps me when players have ideas for things,
mm.
uh, and I can take those ideas and grow them. Take the seed of the idea and grow them. It also doing it this way also gets you, the player, to buy in
Yeah,
and invest in the world. This is a strategy that I use not only in our private uh, Pathfinder game, but I use in when I play Monster Hearts,
mm.
run my podcasts, or any number of games actually, uh, because I want the players to feel like they have stakes in the world. And one way to do that is to get them to help create something.
Yeah, and that is something that we're seeing more and more in new TTRPGs that are coming out. Fabula Ultima being one of them, where there is a lot, and even in like in the book, it's like you ask your players, get your players to come up with these things. I mean, I did it a few times in a homebrew campaign, but a lot of it would be someone would come up with a joke, and I would then implement that joke. It'd be like, okay, so what is the name of this brothel? And they'd come up with some really rough sort of name. And
Yeah, of course.
then that's what it would be called. Just because A, I found it funny, and B, for that very reason, because there is a player buy-in. You know, you you are not just given information. You are also helping generate said information. And like for me, you know, Kuenchi, Bolain, the third arrow, these are things that I know off the top of my head without having to stop and just kind of go, oh, let me have a look, or let me go into this article and just see. I know the history of it. I know that, you know, everything that my character is within that organization, how they approach problems, how they deal with problems. And in these past two sessions especially, we've seen that kind of come out, maybe to the horror of the rest of the party, but
Yeah, we definitely you we had a moment of inspiration for those 5e players with John here, uh, as they were torturing this murderer.
I'm going to say
Well,
getting information out of,
yes, coaxing information out of,
coaxing,
yes.
gently caressing information.
uh, John, Arkira, the character, is laying out these arrows and describing the philosophy behind each one, uh, much to my surprise, and it was just harrowing to be the NPC on the end of that. Uh, to be kind of shaken to my core.
It
Uh,
it was so fun to kind of turn that switch to go from, because up until now I mean, we saw it in the previous session as well, but up until now there's been a certain level of diplomacy, there's been a certain level of cool-headedness, but that mm,
maybe from our Kira to an extent, maybe, but from our other characters, we have Banshee Bloom, played by Misfit,
just is
who is this
spectacular.
oh, just a brilliant character idea of this living or sapient plant, this gathering of vines that creates this ghastly visage, carrying human bones in its vines and uh, having like this glowing red core to it. Um, uh, they are absolutely terrifying.
And Misfit plays her brilliantly.
Absolutely. But Banshee Bloom has always she starts from a place of uh, kill all meat bags, uh, and then you have to dial her back
Yeah.
to okay, let's just pierce their hands with thorns and send them on their way, kind of thing.
Yeah, because it was very much kind of a fish out of water sort of thing for Misfit, where it was Banshee doesn't know how to society. So it was very much a case of, right, we need to kind of rein her in to a certain extent. And
Yes.
that created such a wonderful dynamic with the party of, like, we get invited to stay over at the blacksmiths whom we helped.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'll stay and I'll have some food. And she's like, I go outside. I go, that's where I'm staying. And it's like, okay, cool.
There you go.
But it is very much a character driven. And I think all three of us, we lean heavily into, this is my character, these are the choices they were, these are the way these are the decisions that they would make, for better or for worse.
Yes. And that's the key, is to not always make the right choice unless that's
Mm,
the character that you're trying to play. But uh, in order to create, at least this is my opinion, in order to create interesting, complex characters, you have to let them make choices that are uh, hard
yeah.
or not always the right thing or the best thing to do,
Mm,
because we are all flawed mortals that are affected by our biases, our um, internal prejudices, our um, our fears and desires, and all this other stuff is influencing our decisions. And nobody, at least not that I know of, makes the best decision every time.
yeah. Yeah, and I think as a party, we kind of see that, and we're beginning to kind of get to know each other more and more,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing what drives our characters. Banshee is emotion. Banshee is, to a certain degree, anger and frustration at a world that has taken her world away from her.
Yes.
And you
Uh,
see that when it's like, I don't understand meat sacks.
yeah. She Banshee Bloom was born out of uh, spite
Mm,
and uh, anger against mortals. Uh, and when Misfit and I were discussing her character, uh, she was she was talking about how she wanted uh, to go this route, this sentient plant that uh, it actually doesn't like mortals and is kind of drawn to killing them. Uh, and I said, and I had to think about it, about where Banshee would have been from, uh, and it came to me that I have this very small pocket area in the middle of this forest swampland that is has been burned and is long dead.
Yeah.
It used to be this um, uh, thriving dryad grove,
Hmm.
but then some uh, monarchy or other sent their armies in to claim a special prize at its center, and the battle wasted both sides,
Hmm.
destroyed both sides. So Banshee, when we were talking about Banshee's character, I was like, well, you know what? I have this little region, this little area, and it's haunted. It's um, it's full of malice and anger and uh, death. So we're going to say that you formed there, and that you went out to kill mortals, but have found that they're just interesting enough
Hmm.
to to maybe step back and uh, not kill them at first.
And Misfit plays that to perfection. Just
Absolutely.
that entire she plays it so beautifully, and just brings that dynamic of a loose cannon in the group. Just having that person is like, we're gonna have to be careful. But then on the other side, we've got Toffle,
Yeah.
who is again, he's very much a pacifist. He wants to be a pacifist. He comes from a dark place. He comes from a
Mm-hmm.
very rough upbringing, and he has seen bloodshed. He has seen war. He has seen all this, and now he is very much, I want to keep peace. And again, Chris is playing that absolutely fucking beautifully.
Yeah. What I really enjoy about Toffel and Chris's um, interpretation of this character is how, because Toffel is a barbarian class,
Hmm.
so rage feature and all, but what I love is how Chris has taken the barbarian's rage, and flipped it upside down.
Yes.
So it's not oh, I get angry, Hulk smash kind of thing. It is I fall into a place of trauma, a
Hmm.
place of um, disassociation almost,
Yeah.
and I just go deathly silent mentally, and that's where the extra strength comes in. That's where the
Hmm.
brutality can come in, uh, because a part of his mortality, uh, and I'm using mortal in place of humanity,
Hmm.
so just for context, his part of his mortality is just shoved uh, away,
Yeah.
and just becomes a uh, a killing machine.
And I think that there is nobody inherently good in our party. We're not evil
No.
in
Oh, hell no.
any stretch of the way, but none of us are inherently good. Because obviously Banshee is kill 'em all. Toffol is trying to be good, but he's got that sort of switch. And Akira is League of Shadows, but less shadows.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you do like to hide behind things, but
I do like to
that's
hide
just
behind
more
things.
strategy rather than cowardice.
Yeah, she
Uh,
is tactical. She is
yeah.
100% so everything she does is a tactic. So even just interrogating an old murderer is a tactic, and the way she went about that was a tactic. And like, I think we had a conversation in character out after it happened, and I would have 100% killed him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If he did not serve a purpose, what's the point? And that is her mentality. And I think it's going to be really interesting because we're going to get into trouble. I can see it happening.
Yeah, yeah. You're now on the trail of this merchant captain
Prick.
and have found what you can only describe as a an illegal dump site of these strange chemicals and equipment in this graveyard.
Mm.
So it's going to be interesting where the plot links out from that.
Yeah, I've
Um,
been thinking, and I can't. I'm looking forward to finding out how that connects. But yeah, I'm currently drawing blanks. But I must say, I really enjoyed your twist on the undead that you did.
oh, really?
Yeah, I thought that
Oh,
was because obviously you use creatures I'm familiar with. It was three zombie shamblers and a Falrog something Festrog.
it was a Festrog. Yep.
Festrog.
Hmm.
So the zombie shamblers as undead creatures, but you made it as if they were mutated as opposed to undead, or not
Yeah.
necessarily magically undead as Pathfinder normally does. It was more of a they are mutated, and I thought it was a really cool fucking twist.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. As I was plotting, oop, I think we lost our host. Well, I'm sure that we'll get him back in just a moment. Don't go away. uh, for those of you who may not know me, um, I am Mistress Winter, and I am a uh, tabletop role player hobbyist, streamer, gamer, everything. Like I do just about everything. And my current projects primarily include working with the Tabletop Tailspinners Network, and I MC and produce All Our Faults, a Monster Hearts 2 actual play podcast. And I also am cast of Magnificence, another TTN podcast, 5e actual play. And now we got our host back.
I do apologize. Today's not one. Today's not a great day. My internet just completely died. I am now running off my phone, and ironically, it does seem to be going better.
It actually is, because originally you were all grainy and hard to kind of look at.
Yeah, but hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, that this holds out as much as humanly possible.
I hope you don't have a limited data plan.
No, I am unlimited.
Oh, good.
I took advantage of an offer, and I've just not updated my contract since, just because I've got
Sure,
unlimited
sure.
data. I ain't getting rid of that. That's too fucking good.
Yeah. But to pick up where we were, so my inspiration, not so much inspiration, but as I was plotting where I thought you might end up going,
Hmm.
just based on the clues that I was laying down. Uh, I came up with this graveyard that is this toxic graveyard, essentially. Pools of toxic waste and all this other stuff. Um, and in my head, I imagined that these chemicals are seeping into the ground. They're uh, covering the bodies that are in the graveyard and everything. And I'm like, well, maybe we do need a combat here. Uh, and it would be really interesting if these chemicals actually animated the the bodies, and thus you got several zombies and uh, a ghoul that was very plague ridden and could have caused some real damage if you weren't stupidly good with your ranged attacks.
I mean, I'm enjoying a monk. I've never really played one that often, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying how they work in combat, and just even like going on to the mechanic side of Pathfinder. Mechanically, they are fucking good. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got
They
the
can
high.
really take advantage of the action economy.
Yes, yeah. Not only that, I've got the highest AC of the party.
Mm-hmm.
With the extra action economy, I've got the most movement if I wanted to. And when I start leveling up and that movement starts increasing, I'm just going to be all over that battlefield. And there was one thing, and I told Chris this, and it was so fucking. We had such a laugh. We had that first combat where we were in the old mill, and I
Yeah.
was trading shots with somebody up in a window. And I never told you because I told you I was pissed off that you did something because you made
Oh.
him go inside, and I went, "Oh, that's really fucked me off because I had a plan." And Chris, I never told you what that plan was. It was I
Yeah. Yeah.
essentially
No.
wanted to get my grappling hook and just grapple him and yank him out the window. And that I spent the entire turn going over all the rules and all the mechanics to make it
Oh
viable. It's
no.
like, okay, one action to draw it, one action to this, one action. And I worked out I could do it. I could hook him in one round. And then you went, oh, he goes inside. And I just went, fuck.
I'm sorry, not sorry that I ruined that
It
for
happened.
you.
It happened. It happened.
I will tell you though, as a GM, wholly support inventive and creative problem solving
Hmm.
by players. One of the most memorable stories that I have at a table was back when I was actually running Pathfinder Society.
Hmm.
Uh, it was probably about 8 or so years ago. I was heavy into Pathfinder Society.
Me too.
I ran groups. I was
You were also a venture
kind of
agent, weren't you?
lieutenant,
You got to
venture
lieutenant.
lieutenant. Yep.
I was only agent.
Mm-hmm.
I was off.
Oh
Was it?
wow.
Yeah, I was only agent. I didn't
Yeah.
hit lieutenant.
Yeah. I scaled the ranks there. Um, didn't quite make venture captain, no, but um, so yeah, I ran these groups all the time. But there was one scenario where the group is escorting these goblin prisoners, and they come across these watchtowers that another tribe of goblins has taken over, and they start pelting the players and the goblins down below. Um, Long story short, uh, the the dwarven full plate spike shield wielding fighter and the cleric end up in at the top of one of these towers, and they kill one goblin, and then there's one left, and the cleric uh, is like, I'm just gonna push him off the
Hmm.
tower. I'm like, okay, cool. So bull rush knocks the goblin off the tower. survives with 1 hit point left. It's the fighter's turn. And he goes, I'm going after him. I'm like, okay. I'm going to jump off the tower and go after him. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you're going to take some falling damage. He's like, yeah, sure. So he jumps off the tower. I'm like, well, roll to attack as you're falling. He crits. So I said, all right, this is what happens. You leap off the tower, tuck your spiked shield under your feet, and essentially surf down. And on the ground, you have the goblin who has just hit and stands up all woozy and broken. And then a dwarf wielding a spiked shield under his feet just smashes him.
Nice.
And splat. I even reduced his falling damage just because,
Why not?
you know,
Just
we
why
were
the fuck
cool.
not?
Yeah. It's
I've
one of the best stories that I've got.
I think I mean I enjoyed society play until I didn't, and then that's all I could think of is how much I hated it.
Sure.
You know, it just became, why am I here as a GM?
I enjoyed it for a very long time. Part of it was I liked not having to prepare as much.
Yeah.
I didn't have to come up with the maps or the encounters or even the props, because a lot of times like messages are already included. You just have to either print them out,
Yeah.
cut them up, whatever. So that was all very helpful. So you could the night before just skim through the module,
Yeah.
and be like, okay, I'm ready to go. And I even loved like the special events that they would put out. Excuse me. Where you would have multiple tables,
Yeah.
all involved in the same event, some like cataclysmic thing. And every table, no matter what their level is, they're all working towards some obtainable goal, like defending a city or holding back hordes of demons or some other thing. That to me was always like so exciting and fun, but also far and few in between, because
Yeah.
trying to get 20 players together for a game is
It's not
nigh
easy.
impossible.
And
I mean,
what I don't think they even did one per season, did they? It was one maybe every 2-3 seasons.
uh, I think if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, it was very much we're going to have these big events at like PaizoCon
Yeah.
or whatever convention that they were debuting it at. So that's how they would get all the players, is
Yeah.
because they were all at the convention. But yeah, I eventually grew weary of Pathfinder Society, and after I moved away from where I was running the games, I just never picked it back up again, and moved on to other things.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it just got to the point because I was organizing, which I didn't mind the organizing part. The organizing part was straightforward, but it just got to the point where I would run these games and I'd just be sat there going, I could quite literally just hand you the book and you just crack on. And it got to a point where I just had to turn around to my lieutenant and just go, I'm out. I'm done. You know, I don't feel comfortable promoting and recommending a system which I have fallen out of love with. I was one of the flag bearers for Pathfinder, but then it got to a point of, you know what? I'm gonna go. I've got Delta Green to play. I've got Blades in the Dark. I've got all these games that fit my GM style far better than
Sure.
Pathfinder. So I'm just gonna focus on them now.
Well, that's kind of where I've gone as well. Now, yes, second edition holds a special place in my heart. because I really think that it elevated Pathfinder to a
Hmm.
new generation and was directly competitive with 5e. Um, and I liked it better than 5e. I
Yeah.
still do, but that's neither here nor there. But I have found other games that that yes I connect with better.
Yeah.
I'll say that. Um, and one of those is Monster Hearts.
Hmm.
Monster Hearts is near and dear to my heart. Um, because it is near total collaborative storytelling.
Yeah.
Now, yes, there is still a an MC and somebody who kind of guides the action. But going back to what we were talking about earlier, with getting players invested in and having them create things, um, that's where it shines. I think um, with both of my public campaigns, my streamed or podcasted campaigns, which I did graffitied hearts over on Heroes and Hooligans.
Hmm.
That was a streamed one. And with All Our Faults currently, uh, I will start with again a seed of an idea for the story that we're going to explore. But once I have my cast together, I uh, ask them questions,
Yeah.
and I will prompt them to help me create parts of the world that we're going to inhabit, whether that's the where they live, the points of interest, side characters, all of that is collaborative,
Hmm.
and so I've fallen in love with that. Pathfinder Second Edition is great, and I still like to play it, but Monster Hearts and the Powered by the Apocalypse is
Yeah.
very special to me.
I mean, my one thing that I said about PF2E when I left it was it is the best at what it does. I just don't like what it does anymore.
Sure,
You know that's that's it. Being a player, for me, it's a different matter. Um, because um I'm not as involved with the behind the scenes. I turn up and I play, and even with Akira, I'm not thinking mechanically. I'm not thinking, okay, this would suit and that would suit. The
sure,
decisions I've made so far have been, okay, what have we experienced? What have we done? What does she feel she needs? Because she is very much someone who has been sent out to learn about the world. So, having spent time with Banshee and Toffle, who are very much nature oriented, it's okay, right? My second level is going to be Ranger.
yeah,
And I'm going to
yeah,
lean into that because she is with these people who are telling her about the natural world and how we need to protect it and all this. And there's going to be influence. So that is the direction she has taken. And I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying not having to think about, oh well, this would give me this bonus, and I, I can't be bothered doing that anymore.
sure.
You
Yeah,
know,
no, and I can totally appreciate that. Yes, Pathfinder Second Edition is a bit crunchy at times, but uh, if there's something that I've learned from all the various games that I've played, especially like Shadowrun, uh,
hmm,
I love the world of Shadowrun,
yeah,
but it is so crunchy. Like it is bogged down. It bogs itself down with all the
yeah,
rule sets, and yes, second edition does approach that,
mm,
um, but if there's one thing that I've learned through playing those kinds of games is to not rule lawyer. Uh,
Yeah.
yes, keeping players and actions and things in certain parameters
Mm.
is good, because you don't want things getting too off the rails and then you lose all complete control, and um, then you can't bring it back together. But if you allow for players to be creative, allow for the mechanics to serve the players,
Yeah.
serve their actions rather than the other way around, then everybody can have a better time. They don't have to worry about reading rule books as hard or memorizing all the rules and stuff like that. They can
It,
just be enjoy themselves.
and that's something that I'm seeing quite a lot of now on social media. Not so much. Pathfinder isn't mentioned as much because by virtue of popularity, but there's a lot of I want to learn how to play D&D. And that for me is a pet peeve because I don't believe you should learn how to play a role-playing game.
No, yeah. Well,
You know,
I'm too.
you should have a GM who can facilitate and help you learn or help you pick it up naturally. That's kind of where when I see that, I just always kind of go, "No, it's
So I'm two minds about it,
mm,
and I don't think they're necessarily opposed. Yes, everybody, everybody can come, should be able to come to a table and be able to be a part of whatever is being played, whatever game they end up playing, whatever story they get their character is in. Everybody should be able to play regardless of their experience or lack thereof, or what have you. That I will stand behind 100%. Um, at the same time, I also have had people ask, more specifically, like, how do I get started GMing? How do I uh, take on that mantle and start running
mm,
games and stuff like that? And uh, again, anybody should be able to uh, pick up a book uh, and be able to just run a game that is, again, uh, regardless of experience. But I do believe that those of us who do have experience, those of us who have been in the trenches uh, and have really fought to get where we are, we might have a bit of an responsibility, if
mm,
not um, obligation, almost to lift those people up who they may not have it experience, they may not know what they're doing, and are afraid to take that next step. That we can say, hey, you know, I've I've got all this experience. I would be happy to share my experience with you, to give you my best practices, or
mm,
guide you on how to run your first game, or um, uh, what the best way to learn a system is, or what have you, um, and to help them set them up for success.
mm."
Really.
Just gonna pop over, just looking over at chat now. We've got Sam in chat, and
Oh, okay.
she has put
Hi,
that
Sam.
as someone who's very new to TTRPGs, I get overwhelmed when I try to learn. It's much easier for me to have that guide and help me filter out things that aren't relevant in that moment. And I think that is quite common because
Mm.
um some of the I mean, even like the your more rules like games, they still have a substantial amount of rules for one person to kind of sit down and go, I need to learn this sort of thing. Even like a PBTA game, I still haven't wrapped my head around Avatar.
Oh,
I
really?
no, I mean, I know it's PBTA and I can work with the PBTA side of things, but then they've got this granular combat system, which is like, I
Oh.
don't get it. It's still my head in. I just can't be bothered with it.
I have experienced systems like that.
Hmm.
You know, Shadowrun's one. Also, Altered Carbon RPG by
Hmm.
Hunters Entertainment. They kind of meshed these two rule sets that they have both a like a percentage system that they took
Hmm.
from their survival undead game or outbreak
Yeah.
undead. That's it. Um, and then they put it together with um, like almost a 5e kind of thing. It's complicated. Uh, and it's hard to learn. Also, it's
Yeah.
hard to remember. But yes, you're right. So one of the things that I can point to is, you know, even just learning a new card game.
Hmm.
Uh, my wife loves these Grandpa Beck's games,
Yeah.
Skull King and stuff. Um, but there's even with a simple card game, there's a bit of a learning curve. You still have to read the rules for one,
Hmm.
and two, the best way that I think most people, not everybody, but most people learn is by doing,
Yeah.
and by playing and seeing examples of and stuff like that. So I might recommend that for new GMs, new facilitators, MCs, that if you can find someone who's very familiar with the system or um, experienced as a GM and can sit at your table, maybe as a player, uh, and gently guide you
Hmm.
when things might be straying off or something like that. Um, Now that does take a little bit of humility to be like, okay, yeah, I was going off the rails here,
Hmm.
and that jam brought me back. Um, but uh, yeah, having somebody to guide you and to provide reassurance that you're doing well, I think
Yeah.
that would
No,
be a big boon. Yeah.
I mean that is one of the things that I did enjoy about society play is that in the region I am, the lodge was relatively small.
Hmm.
So it was quite a sort of rotating roster of GMs. If they're not GMing this month, they're going to be playing this month, and this, that, and the other with varying degrees of expertise. And there would be an element of, am I doing that right? And you'd have someone at the table just kind of go, yeah, yeah, that's fine. And it really worked. It really helped kind of boost the overall level of the GMs and the players as well. So it was pretty cool. But so let's kind of move on now because we
Sure. Yeah.
we got talking. We got talking.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Did we lose you again? Uh-oh. John, come back. Come back. Yeah. Oh, well. We gotta love those tech gremlins, don't we, kids? Oh, yeah. Being a streamer myself, or at least an experienced streamer. Oh, there we go. We got John back.
All right. I did a bold move and just completely switched off everything, and it now seems to be working. My
Okay,
wired
good.
connection is actually holding up, which I don't know. Fucking shit. But anyway, I don't know where I got cut off, but I will start again.
You said we got talking. I think you were about to revector.
Yeah, it was basically because we're getting to the point now where it's nearly time to call it. So, I let's talk about you. Let's talk about the things that you do, and I don't want to give
Sure.
anything away.
Yeah.
So,
No.
okay, so
Uh,
please tell
yeah.
us
Well,
what you've got coming up in the pipeline.
sure. Well, I did mention a couple of things while you were resetting your Wi-Fi there. But as I previously said, I am the host and producer of the All Our Faults podcast, a Monster Hearts 2 actual play out of the Tabletop Tailspinners Network. We are uh, getting into the third act of our story, and it is a doozy. In fact, the cast and I have one recording left at the end of this month, and then it's a wrap. And
Hmm,
it has been such a journey. It is. I'm really excited for the audience to catch up to where we are,
hmm,
um, because there are some big moments coming up. Similarly, I'm also cast member of Magnificence, a D&D 5e actual play podcast, also from the Tabletop Tailspinners Network. And I play Suda and her twin sister, Naime. Um, and it is such a great crew. Like there are 6 players. Uh, 6? Yeah, okay. And a GM, and uh, Nightmare King G is phenomenal. Always just has these horrifying revelations waiting for us
hmm,
every recording, and we're into our second act of that one. Though I think it's only released up to about halfway on the first act.
hmm.
Um, but it is such a great show, so I recommend going to give it a listen. Beyond that, yeah, I don't have much else going on. Yeah.
Well, I mean, because you are now I think the third cast member of TTN that we've had on the show, and we love everything you guys do. It
Thank
is,
you.
for me, it is the gold standard of actual play
Wow, high praise.
content, and I'm a huge fan, and I think anybody who's watching this, anybody who's listening to this, definitely go check out Tabletop Tailspinners Network because they produce some phenomenal content you won't find anywhere else.
Yeah. Director Emma Kokar.
Mm,
Um, it's her vision completely. She's uh, through all the trials and tribulations has been committed to creating TTN and its content, and is just phenomenal in the burden that she bears
mm,
to be able to uh, have this network of storytellers and shows going on. Um, and I don't remember where I saw the casting call, but about what I think it was 2 years ago,
mm.
I saw the casting call for a 10 Candles actual play that uh, Emma was running, and I was very intrigued because it was an interesting system that I
Yeah.
had never played before, and I had to get in on it. And we had this horrible, horrifyingly beautiful story
Mm.
that yes has still yet to release, but soon.
Looking forward to
Um,
it.
and we just kind of took off from there,
Mm.
and it's been amazing. It's a great community. I welcome everybody to it,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
yeah.
Check them out. Check them out on Threads. I believe on Blue Sky as well.
Yes.
They're just
I,
wonderful people. You know, everyone I've met involved with TTN has been such a delight to kind of play with, and because I was on your Darkest House
yes. Yeah, we
for
did
TTN, that was
yeah.
insanely fun.
Oh, that was so fun. I really like the Darkest House is a module that you can put into any
Mm,
any system, any world. Like it
yeah.
has that um, uh, caveat, but it is expansive. Like
Mm,
you and the others only teased into what the Darkest House is. Like you
yeah.
only went to a couple of rooms. It's a vast network, and I would love one day to be able to have somebody run the entire thing, at least the first time, because there is a return to the Darkest House. So
Mm. I do possess it. I do own the Darkest House. It was on a Monty Cook bundle,
yes, yeah,
and it was, yeah, I've got it, and I think it came with the book and the app. So I've avoided opening it up because I was going to be because I played in it. But if there's, I may give it a look. I may give it a look, and I may try set something up.
yeah,
Once I
absolutely.
once I figure out how long it'll take, because it, like you say, it is quite expansive.
It is.
It's a
It is.
campaign unto itself.
It really is.
Mm,
There are multiple areas of this house, and each area has probably 8 to 10 rooms
mm,
by itself, and they're all interwoven.
yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot to it, and it can also be very Dark Soulsy,
Mm,
very uh, deadly
yeah.
to characters, um, and it even has like what to do if your character dies in a house and stuff like that. So.
I run Delta Green. I'm all right with Deadly, and I nearly killed two of them this week.
Oh, it would be very interesting to put Darkest House in Delta Green.
You see, I was just thinking that right now. It's like,
Yes.
what
I
if?
think that would it'd be a perfect fit vibe wise.
I think it would. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it would, and just like the simplicity of the system as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. I will look into it. I'll start looking. But
Yeah.
that's about all we've got time for tonight. Winter, thank you again for being my savior this evening, because people don't want to listen to me. People want to listen to someone
Well, I
interesting.
mean, well, if you didn't have the show, then uh, or you have the audience because you are bringing
Because of
this
Atlas.
content, these people to the.
Because of Atlas, it's fine.
But if we didn't have you, we wouldn't have the show.
Fair
So
enough. Yeah,
there you
fair enough.
go.
I'm the benefactor. But yeah, thank
Yeah.
you ever so much. Do you want to just kind of plug and tell people whereabouts they can find you? And
Yeah, sure. You can find me on most social medias except for X because I think I deleted my account there. At Gmistresswinter on all socials that I'm on, and you can find me every other Wednesday on a new episode of All Our Faults, and that is on your whatever app you listen to podcasts, and as well as Magnificence, which is every other Friday. So we just released one, so it'll be another 2 weeks before um, the next episode drops.
definitely check out TTN. Check out everything they've
Yes,
got going,
absolutely.
because you will not be disappointed. As for me, you can find me at Natural Juan on most social media sites. I'm also behind all our social media presence at Too Legit to Crit on Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, Facebook, anywhere. Anyway, you see the natural Juan or too legit to crit, I'm the person at the keyboard who's probably pissing people off. Um, if you like what we do and you want to see more, give us a like, a rating, subscribe, or just tell your friends about us. We love this community and we want to see it grow. Most importantly of all, thank you to everyone who has taken time out of their busy day to listen to us waffle on about tabletop role playing games. Thank you very much. Good night.
Bye bye. All right. It's going to take a while for
I
mine to
know.
upload.